All right, welcome back to Nixology. Last video, I showed you some sort of context required to understand how Nix packages works. So today we're going to dig into Nix packages itself and try to get a feel for how it's actually structured and demystify what actually is happening when you run a command to install something out of Nix packages. So the first thing you want to do is do like dev clone nixos/nix packages just to clone the repository, and then it'll dump you in there. So I have some local changes that I'm going to get rid of. And what you'll see here is there's a directory called packages that contains a whole bunch of code and just miscellaneous stuff all across the repo. But like anything in Nix, you're pretty much interested in default.nix as the starting point. This is like the index.html of Nixland. So when you import Nix packages, if I split the display here, I'll do nix REPL. If I do import Nix packages, which is something you've probably seen at the top of a lot of files, even in these videos, it returns this lambda, because really what you do with Nix packages is you import Nix packages and then call it with typically an empty attribute set, but it does take some different arguments, and then that returns the package set and really complains because of what I just did. It tries to build 11,652 things. So I might just have to kill that process. I might just have to kill it and spell it correctly. Cool. So don't do that. But that demonstrates that importing Nix packages and passing it an empty import Nix packages with an empty attribute set really just returns an attribute set of 11,652 things. So let's look at the source and figure out how that's true. First thing to understand, we talked about this a little bit a couple videos ago, but this angle brackets Nix packages syntax is just inspecting your Nix path environment variable. So it's finding Nix packages equals this thing in your Nix path and just giving you that string. So when I import it, really what I'm doing is importing this. And if I were to look in here, I'd see it's got the same structure as the git clone that I've got. So we're going to work in the git clone just because reasons, but it's the same thing. So here, what that means is because you're importing that directory, it's importing default.nix. So let's look at that. So when you're reading a Nix file, if you want to figure out, the way I find most helpful is to kind of skip to the end, because every file is a Nix expression, meaning that it's often going to have some let bindings, and then at the end it's going to have like a, okay, with all of these local variables, return this thing. So this file is going to evaluate to some expression, and the first thing we see is, okay, let, right, that goes to in, and then this is the thing. So if something, something, okay. Basically, this is it. The only thing that this file does in any branch of these conditions or whatever is import packages /top level /impure. So if we open top level impure, we're going to see, okay, with built-ins, let in, okay, here's a curly brace. What does it match to? So this means it's a function, meaning that this down is the part that actually gets returned. And there's a whole bunch of stuff going on here. Just don't hurt yourself trying to understand this all. But this is the key part. In this file, we're importing dot/dot, which, because our path is packages /top level, that means we're importing packages /top level /default. And then we're getting close-ish. Here we've got another curly brace at the start, and it's another function. So the part that's getting returned is this. Let something in something. Okay. Some stuff. There's a lot going on in this one. Okay, but at the end we've got in packages. So this must have all been let bindings, and then at the end we're just returning packages. Packages is a result of calling boot with stages. And if we look at boot, it's doing something with all packages. That sounds promising. So all packages is what we get when we import /stage.nix. Oops. Stage.nix. Now this kind of gave away the punchline on that one with my highlight, but this is another function with some let bindings. Way down at the bottom, we'll see lib.fix toFix. toFix is this thing, and what you can basically think of as going on here is like, this is just a fancy way to merge all of these things. And for all intents and purposes and functionally, like the contents of Nix packages is this stuff all mushed together. So all packages is where a majority of this comes from. And we can chase the definition of that up one more level. But you can also see overlays here. So overlays are the way we implement our own internal like private packages at Shopify. We have a Nix packages overlay. So that kind of just gets merged into Nix packages through this little piece of code right here. Now, if we follow all packages up one more, we'll see, okay, this is doing something and importing ./allpackages.nix. And if we look at that one, we now hit the kind of jackpot as far as understanding what's going on here, because here we've got a whole bunch of packages, just pages and pages and pages. But what each of these is, well, let's look for the canonical example now. Ripgrep is calling this function call package with this path tools text ripgrep. So if we would open that file, we would see something that basically calls derivation, like in our example last video, and then some arguments you don't have to worry about. We can talk about that sometime in the future. But we can chase that down just to get there. Basically, we've got some arguments, and then we're calling rust platform.build rust package. That's just a very fancy wrapper around derivation, meaning that when it gets evaluated, it has the side effect of writing out a derivation file into the Nix store. So all this said and done, basically we chased through a whole bunch of different levels of abstraction that get you down to the actual kind of place where packages are listed in Nix packages. This is like not the way you would be first inclined to write this, but this particular package repository does a bunch of things and has evolved over more than a decade. So this is the way it looks now. Basically, when you like want to go, if you feel like source spelunking in Nix packages, rather than opening default.nix and chasing it down, you just learn that you want to open the file allpackages.nix in packages/top level, and then scroll down a page. And typically, the way you interact with this is really like you search for the string you're looking for, and it's almost always in this file. And then that gives you a path within the repo to go look at. So that is the all too brief crash course in interacting with Nix packages. Next time, I think I'm going to talk a little bit about the Nix, let's say, standard library, and then the extended standard library that exists in Nix packages, and how to interact with that. That'll probably be a short one, but yeah, see you next time.